So here's a harsh reality that I'm going to share with you, and something which I wish I had known and understood earlier, and that saving money just isn't good enough. Growing up as a kid and a teenager, all you see and hear everywhere is that you should be saving money regularly, whether that's saving money for a rainy day or for when you get old or for whatever it might be. But it's actually a load of BS. Too many people are focused on the saving game when in reality they should be focusing on the earning game. I want to live a comfortable and fun life right now, but still have a ton of money saved up for retirement. And you can definitely do both, and it's exactly what I'm doing right now. Before we get into this video, please subscribe to my newsletter if you haven't already. I share experiences and stories and links to interesting things. Make sure to check it out. So, the problem. There is a limit to how much you can save, but there isn't a limit to how much you can earn. By developing skills and adding more streams of income, anyone could potentially 10 times their income, leading them to not only being able to save more, but also having more free will when it comes to spending money. When it comes to how much you actually spend, there is only so low you can actually go. There's only so little you can spend. You still have to pay rent, you have to pay bills, you have to just pay for everyday living expenses. And those expenses rarely ever go down. They only usually go up. And as we've seen with inflation, these costs have gone up very quickly in the last 2 years alone. If you want increasing your earnings, you want increasing your wealth. When you earn more, you can keep your spending the same, but invest the extra cash that you're bringing in. And if you earn a lot more, you can dramatically increase your savings and investments, which of course will help you build real wealth. So let's look at an example that I've written down here. And to keep it simple, we're not even going to bring taxes or anything into it. I just want to keep it simple. Let's say you earn $4,000 a month and you spend $3,000 of that $4,000 on living expenses. Things like your rent, bills, food, things like that. So you're saving around $1,000 a month. After 5 years, you will have saved $60,000. That's a good chunk of money. Now let's stretch that over 30 years. So let's just say you started saving at 30 years old. You'd have $360,000 by the time you're 60 years old. At 60 years old, does $360,000 sound like a lot? Especially when you want to retire. What if you lived until you're 90? Now you only have $1,000 to live on every month. That's just not really possible. This also doesn't even take into account inflation, but also, of course, it doesn't take into account interest or savings or investing that money. I just wanted to keep it simple. Now, what if we look at it the other way? Instead of trying to cut down our expenses and budget, what if we focus on increasing our salary? Let's say you're able to get your earnings up to $8,000 a month. You can keep spending the same amount that you originally were spending, $3,000 a month on living expenses, things like that. But now you can save $5,000 a month. That's 5 times as much. If we also 5 times the saving, now we're at 1.8 million over the same time period, over the 30 years. Now imagine you invest all of that 1.8 million into the S&P 500, which has averaged 7% a year after inflation over the last 30 years. That's the average over the last 30 years. You'd make $126,000 on top of your 1.8 million. And of course, over time, because that will compound, that's a lot of money. You could just take out that $126,000 every year and still leave your 1.8 million saving that you've saved in your investments. You can just live off that $126,000 a year. Now, for 99% of people, $126,000 just to live on every year without actually having to work, that is incredible and just shows how important it is to increase your income if you can, so that you can also increase your savings and investments. Earning more lets you enjoy life more. Now, let's be honest, no one wants to cut spending and be super frugal. I know I definitely don't. I want to be able to enjoy the finer things in life, like traveling, like enjoying great food and having the latest tech. I also want to be able to spend that money on family and friends. I want to be able to take my friends out, take my family out for meals, buy them things that they want. I want to be able to enjoy my life. Imagine getting to the end of your life and regretting not doing all of the things that you would have liked to do. So if you earn more, you get to do more. You don't go crazy and start spending your money like crazy or anything like that. But with more earnings, you can now save more, as well as having more money to spend on things that you love, on people that you love. Less money equals less time. So the more you earn, the more flexibility and control you have over how you spend your time. If you're scraping by on your current salary, you likely have little choice but to work long, hard hours just to pay the bills. However, higher earnings enable you to afford more luxuries like taking extended vacations, hiring help, retiring early, other things like that. You can start allocating your time better, spending it more on passions instead of always work. I've also found the highest paid jobs tend to provide the most autonomy over when and how hard someone works. It's easier to sustain a high income than a slashed budget. Do you really want to spend a decade limiting how often you eat at your favorite restaurants or the places you travel to? Or does it sound better to actually increase your income? I've found from my experience and from speaking to others, it's actually easier to sustain a high income than it is to keep slashing your budget. Because once you hit a certain income, you tie your skill value to that income. You believe that's what your skill set is actually worth, and it most likely is, otherwise you wouldn't be getting paid that money. And I'd advise this approach for others as well. Start thinking today about what you might do just to earn a little bit more money. The solution. So what exactly is a solution here? How does one go about increasing their income? The good news is that there are many different things you can do to boost your income. I wanted to provide some solutions and options that I have done myself to increase my own income. So first up is develop a high income skill. I keep banging on about this, don't I? I keep mentioning it in every single bloody video, develop a high income skill. But certain skills are in high demand and command premium salaries, premium money. If you can develop these skills, you'll be well on your way to increasing your income and not having to worry about constantly trying to save as much money as possible. Some of the most in-demand skills today include programming, UI, UX design, data science, AI, machine learning, digital marketing, sales and negotiation, copywriting, and content creation. If you are interested in learning a high income skill like programming, HubSpot have an awesome free guide titled An Introduction to JavaScript. In this guide, you learn about what JavaScript actually is. You learn things like data types, variables and operators, control flow, object-oriented programming, functions, scope, data structures, and much more. JavaScript is one of the 3 core web development languages and is usually the gateway for most people wanting to learn programming. 98% of websites use it, and so do a bunch of apps. It's even the basis of React, which is used by so many companies, including Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, GitHub, and many more. This is something that I wish was available when I was learning JavaScript years ago, as it's really difficult to find good resources. And nearly everything I do today started because I learned web design and web development. So make sure to check out. I'll leave a link to it down in the description below. It's completely free to download. If you want to increase your earning potential, it's important to develop a high income skill like one of these. You can do this by taking on online courses, attending workshops, or even just enrolling in boot camps and stuff like that. But there are also many free ways to learn out there. You don't have to do paid stuff, because most of the way that I've learned throughout my whole life is just learning for free on the internet, just looking up different things here and there and just trying stuff. That is the way I've learned my high income skills. I also have a whole video dedicated to high income skills. Make sure to check that out if you haven't already. And I also have a course, videocreatorcourse.com. It's just about how to make high quality video like I do, because that's one of the big ways I make money, making high quality video, not just for YouTube, but for clients, creating sort of client work, user generated content, things like that for clients. Yeah, if you guys are interested, make sure to check that out as well. It's videocreatorcourse.com. Negotiate for a raise. So don't be afraid to negotiate for a higher pay at your current job. Thoroughly research your market value and quantify your contributions to that business or whatever it might be, so as to make a strong case for the raise that you want. Be confident and willing to walk away if they don't want to meet your needs and requirements, because more than likely, if they don't want to accommodate for you now, then they most likely won't want to accommodate for you in the future. Also, don't be shy about discussing promotions. Of course, with promotions usually comes increased responsibilities, but if you want to earn more money, you're going to have to take on more responsibilities. Here are a few tips I would recommend for negotiating a raise. Do your research, find out what other people in your position in the industry are earning. You can even talk to other people, ask them what they're earning, because I found when you talk about money quite openly, other people naturally talk about it as well. Because if you go in with the intention of you want to help someone out or you want to get help from someone, if you go with that need and not just because you're greedy or anything like that, you just want knowledge, you just want to share information, people are usually more than willing to share numbers. Be prepared to back up your claims, document your accomplishments and the value that you bring to the company. Be confident and assertive. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Obviously, the motto that people say is, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I really do believe in that. There have been so many times where I've just blatantly asked for something from someone, which I try to be polite. I don't want to be rude about it. But most of the time, they're willing to give me what I want. If you're not getting what you want, be prepared to walk away from the negotiation. I feel like this is very important, because otherwise you're going to be putting yourself in a difficult situation here. Because if you think you're worth more, if you think you're better, and then you accept that you don't get a raise, you don't get a negotiation or whatever, then the company was also sort of going to see you like that. So be prepared to walk away, be prepared to maybe have another job lined up or to find another job, because sometimes you just have to take that risk to get the reward. Negotiating for a raise can also be very daunting, but it's worth it if you feel like you're underpaid or undervalued. With careful preparation and execution, this is one of the easiest ways to increase your income. I also truly believe in the idea of if you help a business grow, you should be rewarded. So for all of my full-time employees in my companies, I offer them a portion of the profits, so their bonus is tied directly to how the business does. It gives them skin in the game. Explore new career opportunities. So don't limit yourself to your current job. Research better paying opportunities in your industry, or consider a complete career change if that's what you want. Sometimes a strategic move like this can lead to a much bigger jump in your income potential. Here are a few tips I'd recommend for when exploring a new career opportunity. Network with people in your field, talk to friends, family, former colleagues to see if they know of any job openings, attend industry events. This is a great way to meet new people and learn about new opportunities. Use online job boards. There are many job boards available online that you can help to find new job openings. This is always a great bet. Just constantly keep an eye out on job sites and see if there's anything that piques your interest. You could even hire a career coach. A career coach can help you identify your skills and interests and help you develop a plan to achieve your career goals. I think the networking one for me definitely worked really well, because I network a lot on Twitter, through YouTube, through social media, places like that. And through networking, talking to people, I've gotten so many clients, I've gotten so many sponsors, I've worked with so many interesting people, I've gotten so many different opportunities, all because I've taken the effort of putting myself out there and networking with people, just making friends, asking them for advice, giving advice, all these different things. On average, changing companies results in a faster salary growth and internal promotions, so don't get too comfortable. Keep advancing in your career, keep going out of your comfort zone, getting uncomfortable, so that you can be more comfortable later in life. You are also more likely to have a much broader set of skills and experience if you have worked at different companies and in different positions. There's just so much to learn out there, so much sort of experience to be had, that when you work at different companies, when you work with different clients, when you do all these different things, you're really going to be rounding yourself off and understanding what it takes. Monetize your passions. So if you have a hobby or a passion that you're skilled in, consider turning it into a side hustle or even a fully fledged business. Whether you're a talented writer, photographer, designer, musician, there are so many ways to monetize your talents and generate additional income. And that's exactly what I did. I thought I was going to become an accountant out of school. It's why I had studied. I was thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to become an accountant. This is going to be a good career. I'm going to love it. Well, boy, am I glad that didn't happen, because accountancy is the most boring thing ever. I'm not hating on accountants because we do need them. I have an amazing accountant, but to me, accountancy, oh my God, personally for me, it's just such a boring job. But yeah. In my free time, my hobbies included things like web design, graphic design, photography, video, just these sorts of things, and of course tech. And I've sort of blended all those things together, and I make money through all those different ways. And it's just amazing how these hobbies, these things that I'm passionate about, can also make me money. Because back then, when I was a teenager, I didn't think to myself that these could make money. Everyone was always telling me that no, the best way to be successful is to go to university, go to college, become a doctor, become an accountant, become an engineer, whatever it is, typical Asian stuff. But then I just thought to myself, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. This is what I enjoy. And I wish someone had told me earlier that, if I really put in a lot more time, I feel like I could have even had a few years head start. But anyway, that's not a big deal. I'm just glad I was able to turn things that I love into things that also make me money. I've also written a few ideas down on how to monetize your passion. So you could start a blog or a freelance writing business. That's actually what I started doing first. I first started blogging. Building my own blog. And then from there, that sort of just fell into learning web design, content creation, and things like that. But anyway, you could also sell your photos or videos online. You could do OnlyFans, but not OnlyFans. Offer your photo or video services to clients. Create and sell digital products such as presets, courses, or templates. That's exactly what I do. That's one of the ways I make money. Offer online tutoring or coaching services. Start a drop shipping store or an e-commerce store. Etsy can also be a great option for a lot of people. You could also rent out your assets such as properties, camera equipment and stuff like that. I've mentioned that in a previous video. So yeah, if you're passionate about what you do, you'll be much more likely to stick with it and achieve success. So don't be afraid to get creative and think about how you can turn your passions into profits. Build multiple income streams. So this of course can be a great way to increase your earnings, but at the same time, it can take some time to build up. Instead of relying on one source of income, try to develop multiple streams for security. So you can blend active incomes like salaries and side businesses with passive income like investments and rental properties. All of these will add up significantly. You might not see much at the beginning, but over time they can really propel your earnings and propel your wealth. Another great reason for having multiple streams of income is that it allows you to have greater flexibility and freedom. If you lose one income stream, the others provide stability until it's replaced. You also then don't have to worry if one income stream suddenly stops, as you now have diversified rather than keeping all of your eggs in one basket. This one is actually personally very important to me, as I don't have a single client or sponsor that makes up more than 10% of my revenue. So if a sponsor, if a client or something backs out at the last minute, I know that, okay, it's gonna hurt, is whatever, but I can find a suitable replacement if I have to. But even if I can't, I've only lost a max of like 10%. It's really not a big deal. My income doesn't just come from YouTube, of course. YouTube is actually something that I started after I had built all of my businesses and developed the skills. I have a few businesses outside of YouTube, such as videocreatorcourse.com, my digital store, my blog, and my stocks and shares portfolio. Relocate strategically. So this is a big one and not something that can be made just impulsively. You've really got to think about this. By relocating to a different place, to a different country, to a different city, whatever it might be, you could potentially increase your income. Now, I don't mean just pack up your bags and go somewhere in the hopes of suddenly earning more, but some countries, some cities actually pay more for the same job positions. I'm sure most of you will be well aware of this. For example, American companies especially pay a lot more for developers and designers than anywhere else in the world. I have friends who have moved from all over the world to America for design and development jobs, and they're just getting paid silly money. $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, $1 million a year. I know some AI developers who are working in like machine learning, programming, stuff like that. They're earning $1 million a year, which is just absurd. But their skill set is rare. That's one of the things I mentioned earlier. That sort of skill set is rare. It's not easy to have. It takes time to build, so they're getting paid big bucks for it. Another example is one of my close friends who is in the finance industry, and he actually moved from Australia to the UK because for the same position he was earning substantially more and there was more room for growth as well. So yeah, Australia is obviously a nice place to live. Moving from Australia to the UK, it almost seems like a backwards thing because Australia has much better weather and it seems like a nicer place to live. But he knew that moving to the UK would push his career much further than it ever could in Australia. I myself am actually considering moving to Dubai. I've been thinking a lot about this over the past year because I know that I'll be paying significantly less tax. I'll essentially be doubling my take-home income. But anyway, that's for a completely another video that I'll share in the future. Going back to the whole point of this video, saving just isn't enough now. On top of saving money, you need to be increasing your income. It's all about having a good balance. You want to live a good life now, but also be able to sustain that life or make it even more comfortable into retirement. The pain of being poor is more than the pain it takes to become wealthy. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for more.